Very often in this job we get to travel to far-flung corners of the world to drive the latest creation from whichever manufacturer feels the need for us to be the lucky recipients of such a trip. In a nutshell, those launches generally run like this. We'll land on a Monday, drive the whole day, have dinner, sleep, drive a bit the next day, head to the airport and be home by day 3. Things generally run to a tight schedule, but our recent trip to South Korea with Hyundai was a little bit different for a few reasons. For starters, the launch was held in a megacity. Seoul is a city of some pretty impressive numbers. It's been inhabited for over 2,000 years. It's the world's second biggest metropolitan area and one of the world's 10 biggest cities. It's home to 11 million people, and that means half of South Korea's population lives in this city. We've flown just about 24 hours and 11,000 kilometers to drive a car that Hyundai hopes is equally impressive, the new Elantra. While we knew things would be done according to that tight schedule I mentioned, we weren't exactly on a whirlwind tour by international launch standards. Before heading out in a convoy of around 35 cars, we were treated to a few corporate events. During our 5-day visit, we were shown many videos about the design and manufacture of the new Elantra. We visited their R&D center. We were entertained with theater shows, gala dinners, and even a magician. No, I don't know what that has to do with cars, but Hyundai certainly know how to play the gracious host. But finally they assembled us and the other media attending from the Middle East, Far East and New Zealand, entertained us with a safety briefing and put us on a bus. Only then, after a full day and night and half-hour drive across town, were we able to experience the new baby in the metal. And here it is, the new Hyundai Elantra. Now, to describe this car, I have got two options. I could use Hyundai's marketing speak with its ridiculous phrases like fluidic sculpture and windcrafted, or I could use my own language and say it's full of creases and curves. But truthfully, neither of those will do this car any justice, because in the metal, it is a very different and very good-looking machine. It even looks great in the wet, which is a bit unavoidable when you're visiting Korea at the start of the rainy season. The Elantra is one of those cars that just doesn't photograph well. It looks decent in pictures, but so much better in real life, where you can appreciate its proportions and take in the full effect of those creases and flowy lines. The wet weather was one thing that our hosts couldn't control, and believe me, I'm pretty sure they tried. So our drive in the new Elantra was a bit of a mixed bag. We were stuck in a very tightly regimented convoy for one day and allowed a chaperone drive the next. I can't be sure they're as strict with their design process though. But I will say that I think the first line in the designer's brief said, "Straight lines are the enemy." Even the CD player's got a bit of a curve in it. They wanted something different and they've ended up with exactly that, without straying from Hyundai's good build quality and materials. To match all those swooping lines on the outside, they've engineered a dashboard with a similar set of swoops. It's a layout that works from an ergonomic point of view. It manages to package a lot of features into a stylish layout that isn't reminiscent of anything in its class. All-round space is decent thanks to the Elantra's extended dimensions. Finally, it was time to hit the road on a route that took in highways, suburban roads and a scenic route around one huge dam. Although the drive itself was pretty straightforward, assessing this car wasn't. I quite like the fact that the world is this global village, although it can present a problem every now and again, like now. We're a bunch of South Africans who have flown all the way to South Korea to drive a car that ends up being an Australian spec. Now what that means is this top-of-the-line version, as it is here, may not get all the features we have when it reaches South Africa. So for example, it may not have the Bluetooth, but it will have the leather seats, which this car doesn't have. The basic spec is the same though. You're not going to fall in love with this car only to find it looks completely different when it arrives at your local Hyundai dealership. But there are a lot of details that haven't been confirmed for the local market just yet. The other difference with driving a car that's not spec'd for the country you're in is that there might be less obvious changes like the suspension settings, which in this car seem a little bit on the hard side. And that's completely incongruous with the steering, through which you feel, well, nothing. Which is not the end of the world given the market segment this car is fighting in, but it left me wondering if the South African version is going to end up with the same overall feel. With one day of driving done and with some time to kill, we did what any good professional would do: go shopping. With our umbrellas. Before you come to a place like Seoul, you read all about it, and you get an idea that it is something quite different to what you're used to at home. But it's only once you get here that you appreciate the sheer size of the place. There are literally thousands of multi-story apartment blocks, and a street like this buzzes all day and literally all night. You can drive for 45 minutes in any direction on one of Seoul's multi-lane highways, and the view stays pretty much the same. Lots of trees and lots of buildings. It's like an immensely large Joburg, with the occasional tunnel and illegible road signs. Driving in Korea is interesting. All the road signs are written in the special Korean alphabet. The only English you get are town names, and those are unpronounceable at the best of times. Occasionally there are large LED boards across the highway giving live traffic information, again written in Korean, so there could be mortal danger ahead, and you'd be none the wiser. Adding to the challenge is the fact that we're driving right-hand drive cars on the right-hand side of the road. Yet more testament to the Koreans and their magnificent hosting. They weren't happy with us driving on what we see as the wrong side of the road, so they insisted that we at least have cars with controls in places that we're used to. Unsurprisingly, being the size that it is, there are a lot of cars in Seoul, and probably even less surprising than that is that most of them are Korean, followed by the Germans, by my very unscientific calculation methods, in Mercedes-Benz S-Classes and A6s. There are a few smaller German cars, a couple of 3 Series and an odd Golf or 2. French car numbers would be higher if you could count the Renault Koleos, which you can't because here it's not called a Koleos and it's made by Samsung. Which is at least made under license, unlike a lot of other cars in Korea, which are just not very flattering reinventions of popular German cars. Here we have an old S-Class Mercedes-Benz parked next to an old E-Class Mercedes-Benz. Back on the very wet road, we were getting used to some very foreign driving conditions in a car that was beginning to prove that it will be quite capable of taking on its rivals, like the Toyota Corolla. And it'll do that even though some parts could be seen as a downgrade compared to the old car. Usually in new models, things get bigger. The new Elantra is longer and wider, but gone is the 2-litre replaced by a 1.8. It's 110 kilowatts and 178 Newton meters. There is also a 96 kilowatt 1600 version. As for a diesel, well, let's just say that the Koreans are being a little bit shy about the details for now. They won't confirm or deny their plans for a diesel, but the spec for this petrol engine is a definite. A combined cycle fuel consumption figure of 7.1 litres per 100 k's and a CO2 figure of 169 grams per kilometre. But as far as the performance of our 1800 goes, it feels like a willing enough engine off the line, but it also seems like it could do with more mid-range go. The in-gear acceleration's a bit on the thin side. Having said that though, this engine is fairly low mileage, so it hasn't exactly loosened up. Our test car was fitted with a regular feeling 6-speed automatic, but we can also confirm that there will be a 6-speed manual on offer locally. I said it earlier, but our drive in the Hyundai Elantra was really a mixed bag, and that meant even after 5 days and a good amount of time behind the wheel, we went home without having been able to do our jobs thoroughly. Unfortunately, we've come a very long way and now we're going all the way back home again with an impression of the new Elantra that isn't quite 100% clear. In terms of looks and performance, at the very least, it should keep up with its stated competitors. But we battled the elements in a car built for Australia with an engine with less than 1,000 k's on the clock. And with local pricing and specs still to be confirmed, I'm going to reserve my judgment just for now. On paper, there are lots of reasons to like the Elantra, including good power from the 1800 engine and a decent 6-speed auto gearbox. It's also a handsome sedan in a segment where function often dictates form. But we'll have to wait for a local launch in late August to find out just how good it fares in South African conditions.